You know this story, or rather you don't, and that is the point. You know Bhishma, you know Draupadi, you know Karna, Shakuni, Ravana, Krishna. The Mahabharata has given you its heroes and its villains, its warriors and its sages, its queens and its gods. It has not given you Amba. Amba was the eldest daughter of the king of Kashi. She was taken against her will from her own SWAYAMVAR by the greatest warrior of the age. She asked for justice from every person who had power in that world, a king, a warrior, a sage, a god. Every one of them failed her. And then she burned herself alive and came back because she was not finished. Amba is the character the Mahabharata tries to forget. She appears in the Adi Parva, does what she does, and the epic moves on. The television serials barely mention her. The modern retellings skip her. The devotional tradition has no place for her. But the Mahabharata's own text cannot escape her, because she is the reason Bhishma dies. Not Arjuna's arrows, not the war, not fate. Amba. The version of Amba's story that most people don't know at all comes from the Adi Parva, the first book of the Mahabharata. It is one of the longest and most detailed personal narratives in the entire epic. The text gives Amba extraordinary attention. Her story takes hundreds of verses. And yet she has been systematically removed from the story's popular memory. Not because her story is minor, because it is too important to be comfortable. Amba's story does something that no other story in the Mahabharata does quite so directly. It holds Bhishma accountable. The grandfather, the patriarch, the immovable pillar of Dharma, the man the tradition reveres above almost everyone else in the epic. Amba is the record of what Bhishma actually did to a specific woman, not what he watched happen to someone else, not the injustice he failed to prevent, what he directly caused. She is the case against him, and he had no answer for her. Amba was the eldest of three princesses, Amba, Ambika, and Ambalika, daughters of the king of Kashi. Their Swayamvar had been arranged. Princes and kings from across the known world had gathered to compete for their hands. The princesses had the right to choose. This is what a Swayamvar was, not a transaction arranged by fathers, a ceremony in which the woman chose. Bhishma arrived uninvited. He had come not to compete but to take. The Kuru prince Vikatravirya needed a wife, Satyavati's son. The heir Bhishma's vow had been made to produce. Bhishma decided the princesses of Kashi would do. He challenged every assembled king, defeated them all in single combat, loaded the three princesses onto his chariot, and left. Not as a groom, as a kidnapper. The Mahabharata presents this in complex terms. There was a Kshatriya tradition of winning brides by force, the Swayamvara Harana. Bhishma cites this tradition explicitly. He says what he is doing is within the bounds of Dharma. But here is what Bhishma knew and the text records. Amba had already chosen. Before Bhishma arrived, she had given her heart to Shalva, a king who had come to the Swayamvar to compete for her. She had not formally indicated her choice yet, but the choice was made in every sense that mattered. She intended to choose Shalva. Everyone who knew her knew this. Bhishma took her anyway. And when she told him in the chariot, during the journey to Hastinapura, that she belonged to another, Bhishma let her go. He released her. He sent her to Shalva. He acknowledged her right to the man she had chosen. And Shalva refused her. Because she had been in another man's chariot, because she had been taken, because in the logic of that world, being taken even against your will made you ineligible, used, returned goods. She went back to Bhishma. She said, "You did this. You must fix it. Marry me." Bhishma said he could not. His vow of celibacy forbade it. He had taken her, ruined her prospects, sent her away, and then cited the vow that was the original cause of her situation as the reason he could not repair it. Amba went to Parashurama next, Bhishma's own teacher, the greatest warrior alive. If anyone could force Bhishma to act, it was him. Parashurama challenged Bhishma to single combat, a 23-day war between teacher and student that ended without resolution. Neither could defeat the other. Parashurama finally admitted he could not compel Bhishma. Amba had watched the greatest warrior in existence fight her battle for 23 days and lose. She went to every king she could reach. She asked each of them to take up her cause to fight Bhishma, to compel him to marry her or find her another path. Every king refused. Bhishma was too powerful, the political cost too high, her cause too inconvenient. She went to the sages. She performed austerities. She prayed to every deity she could name. The god Shiva appeared to her. He gave her a promise. She would be the cause of Bhishma's death. In her next life she would be born in a form that could destroy him. A next life. Justice, but not in this one. Amba had lost everything. Her SWAYAMVAR, her chosen husband, her family's home, her standing in the world, her youth, spent in the pursuit of a justice that every system around her refused to deliver. She lit a funeral pyre by the banks of a river. She stepped into it, and she said loudly, so that whatever divine beings were listening would not forget, "This fire is for Bhishma." She was reborn as Shikhandi. The Mahabharata's account of Shikhandi's birth and life is one of its most remarkable passages. Shikhandi was born as a daughter to King Drupada, yes, the same Drupada who would later father Draupadi. From the very beginning, something about Shikhandi was different. The child was raised as a son, trained as a warrior, married in a political arrangement as a man. The details of Shikhandi's gender identity and the divine Yaksha who exchanged his gender with Shikhandi are present in the original text. The Mahabharata gives this story with full and specific detail. Shikhandi lived and fought as a warrior, became one of the great fighters of the Pandava army. But the soul inside Shikhandi remembered. Amba's soul carrying every door that had been closed, every king who had refused, every night spent beside a river asking why the world had no path for her was still moving, still unfinished. Bhishma knew who Shikhandi was. The Mahabharata is explicit about this. Bhishma recognized Amba in Shikhandi. He knew from the moment they met what Shikhandi carried and why. And he made a decision that the text records without fully explaining. He decided he would not raise his weapons against Shikhandi. There are multiple interpretations of why, that he recognized Shikhandi as having been born a woman and would not fight someone he considered a woman, that he recognized Amba's soul and accepted that this was the justice she was owed, that he had always known this day was coming and had chosen long before Kurukshetra to let it arrive. Whatever the reason, the effect was the same. On the 10th day of the Kurukshetra war, Shikhandi advanced toward Bhishma. Arjuna positioned himself behind Shikhandi, using Shikhandi's presence as the reason Bhishma would not defend himself, and from behind Shikhandi, Arjuna's arrows found Bhishma. The greatest warrior in the Mahabharata fell, because he had chosen not to fight the person in front of him, because that person carried Amba. Here is what the text shows but never states directly. Bhishma's fall at Kurukshetra, the event that turns the tide of the entire war, that leads directly to the Pandavas' eventual victory, was not an accident of battle. It was not superior strategy. It was not divine intervention in the conventional sense. It was the consequence of one specific act, decades earlier, in a SWAYAMVAR in Kashi. Bhishma took a woman who had chosen someone else. He destroyed every path available to her. He cited his own vow as the reason he could not repair what he had broken, and he went on with his life, his magnificent, respected, honor-filled life, as though she had simply ceased to exist. She did not cease to exist. She burned herself alive with his name on her lips. She came back carrying everything he had done to her. And the Mahabharata's most revered patriarch, the man who could choose the moment of his own death, chose not to defend himself against her. Because on some level, the level the text operates at when it is being most honest, Bhishma knew. He owed her this. The story of Amba has been absent from popular retellings of the Mahabharata for a reason that has nothing to do with its importance and everything to do with its inconvenience. It is inconvenient because it makes Bhishma responsible, personally, specifically, for one woman's complete destruction. It is inconvenient because she does not accept it. She does not grieve quietly. She does not find peace in a hermitage. She does not allow the story to move on without her. She burns herself alive and comes back. There is a reason this story resonates so deeply right now. We live in a world full of Ambas, people whose harm has been acknowledged as real by the very person who caused it and who were then told that the rules, the vows, the systems, the institutional requirements meant nothing could be done. People who went from door to door and found everyone closed. People whose justice, when it was offered at all, was offered in the next life. The Mahabharata did not forget Amba by accident. It forgot her because remembering her requires answering her question. And her question was simple. You took my life. You could not give it back. What now? The epic answered in the only way a story can. It gave her Bhishma. Not as a trophy, not as revenge, as a reckoning. Script by Grey Wall Stories. Every wall holds a story. Some walls were built to keep a woman from coming back.